It's what we've all been waiting for. The 11 o'clock advisory is now out. Glenn will have it right after this.
Fox 35 News Edge at 11 starts now. Hurricane Dorian, now a Cat 5 monster.
It seems to be one of the biggest hurricanes we've ever seen.
This mighty storm gaining strength by the hour and landing a catastrophic punch in the Bahamas. The big question tonight, when will this beast turn?
We're not out of the woods yet.
The news station with live team coverage, getting you prepared for impact. It's out and we've got it. The 11 o'clock advisory on Dorian. Good evening and welcome. I'm Charles Belay.
And I'm Lou Ann Sorrell. Let's get right over to the chief meteorologist, Glenn Richards. Glenn, has anything changed?
The good news here, a little bit has changed. It's a little bit weaker. Instead of 185 miles per hour, now down to 180. So I guess that's an improvement right now for the islands. But the good news, the real good news, of course, is that the path, the forecast path, has not changed. So it still is showing that turn. The models are still in a good agreement. The National Hurricane Center is still in good agreement with the models that, again, this is going to start to make the turn as we go through the day tomorrow, and it will still be about 70 miles offshore of the Cape, which is fantastic news. It means it's going to be a little bit farther off of Brevard and Volusia County. So again, there's the center, again, still slowly pushing out to the west. But what we're starting to see tonight, look how the north end is just kind of getting kind of wispy and frayed. That's an indication, again, that high pressure's gone. When high pressure's sitting on top of it, it gets real smooth on top. And that's what it's been doing the last few days. So just been kind of right along underneath that. Well, right now, that high pressure is gone and the upper level steering flow is beginning to kick in a little bit, so the clouds are beginning to flare up to the north. So that is the direction it is going to go. It's going to start to turn to the north. Hurricane warnings are still up. The advisories have not changed. Still a hurricane watch for Volusia County, tropical storm watch for inland counties that more than likely may get upgraded to tropical storm warnings as we go through the day tomorrow with some wind gusts of tropical storm force. So here's the new advisory from the Hurricane Center: 180 mile per hour winds. It is moving west at 6 miles per hour, so it's still moving forward. It hasn't really slowed down from earlier, but it's moving slow. Here's the updated numbers now. At 8 a.m. tomorrow, the winds will be down to 165, so it's going to go from 180 down to 165 at 8 a.m. tomorrow. 8 p.m. tomorrow, down to 155, still a Category 4, still a major hurricane. Major hurricane is Category 3 or above. Still Tuesday at 8 p.m., there it is, due east now of Melbourne with winds of 140 miles per hour. So Tuesday at 8 p.m. So that tells us that the strongest winds are going to be as we go through Tuesday morning, afternoon. This will be Tuesday evening, and then also during the overnight. And then here's our distance still, 70 miles offshore. So we're right around that point of 60 to 70 miles. Again, it's not going to be exact. And remember, it could still be a little farther to the west. We're still in the cone of air. Orlando's coming out of it, but it's still a longer coastline. So it still could be a little bit near. So right now, it is still approximately approximately 70 miles offshore, and that would be as we get into the overnight hours on Tuesday. And then by Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. starts to get north of Daytona. As we get into the evening hours, it'll be farther up around Jacksonville. Then again, after that, it swirls off to the north and to the east. Again, the wind profile with this system right here is impressive. Again, right now, this is showing where you have tropical storm force winds in the yellow and also hurricane force winds, of course, offshore. And this is the forecast now. As we go through Tuesday, in the early morning hours, notice the tropical storm force sustained winds would be hitting the coastline of Brevard. Tuesday afternoon, still looking at sustained tropical storm force winds, also getting into Metro Orlando, Lake Mary, Daytona, extending over towards Daytona. That's 39 miles per hour or more. So we would be looking at wind gusts also along the coastline up to hurricane strength. But look how close they are, getting very close to the Cape. That's the reason why any little westward movement would bring many more areas with hurricane force winds as opposed to mainly offshore and just some gusts along our coast. And then as we get into Wednesday in the early morning hours, it'll be farther to the north. Our winds will still be strong coming into Daytona, coming in from the west, beginning to swirl around out of the west-northwest. Then eventually by evening, it quickly scoots out of the picture. Here's live radar right now showing Dorian slowing down. Again, forward speed now this evening, only about 5 to 6 miles per hour. It'll come to almost a complete halt tomorrow, and then it'll make its turn and then start to work its way up to the north and west. Much more to talk about with Dorian. The wind impact, of course, county by county. We've got rainfall numbers, some new ones there too, and also an updated storm surge forecast for our East Coast. All that's coming up.
All right, Glenn, we'll check back with you in just a few minutes here. Thank you. And as the storm creeps closer to Florida, people along the coast are not taking any chances.
Mandatory evacuations in parts of Volusia County start tomorrow. The news station Samantha Sosa reports.
Some businesses and bars on Daytona Beach are open but boarded up tonight. Meanwhile, officials are telling people in other areas of the county they have to leave. Businesses on Daytona Beach boarding up and leaving until Dorian passes. The owner of Wild and Crazy Airbrush bracing for impact.
We got severe damage. We were closed for about 6 months. We lost the roof, the ceiling collapsed.
Now Volusia County officials have ordered mandatory evacuations for barrier islands, mobile homes, RV parks, and low-lying areas in the county. Emergency officials say people should be evacuated and hunkered down by Monday night.
We want to evacuate in blue skies because if you've waited till it's raining and storming, you've waited too long.
Volusia Emergency Management Director Jim Judge says 14 schools are prepped to become hurricane shelters, 6 of those being special needs shelters for those with medical needs dependent on electricity. Those people need to bring any medical equipment and medications necessary.
Anything that you need to be able to sustain yourself in a school over the course of the next 3 or 4 days.
Meanwhile, those who are fueling up and planning to drive inland for the storm should expect highway traffic to pick up throughout the evening and Monday morning.
I-95 is expected to get very busy. The beach line where travel will be coming from the coast over into the Orlando area, your State Road 60, 192, State Road 50. We expect that traffic to be picking up in the morning, even though it is a holiday.
Lieutenant Kim Montez with Florida Highway Patrol says there are double the amount of troopers patrolling, as well as people monitoring traffic from FHP headquarters to send any help as needed.
What we want to remind people right now is the tolls are suspended, so you do not have to stop. We don't want people slowing down or stopping in those express lanes.
Shelters in Volusia open tomorrow at 10 a.m. We also want to let you guys know the county has issued a curfew that starts from 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 3rd through 6 a.m. Wednesday, September 4th. I'm live in Daytona Beach tonight. Samantha Sosa, Fox 35 News.
A similar scene in Brevard County where mandatory evacuations have also been ordered.
The news station's David Bowden has the latest.
Well, not so much going on at this shelter here in Vieira right now, but officials tell me that they expect this pet-friendly shelter will get very busy as Dorian gets closer.
The signs that a storm is coming are everywhere in Brevard. Businesses boarded up anticipating what Dorian may bring our way. On Merritt Island, this U-Haul rental facility using the trucks to barricade the building. and you don't have to go far before you hear the buzz of power tools hard at work. Phil Finney and a crew of helpers are working on one of his rental buildings.
Anything with a north-facing wall we're concerned about.
Phil says this is a tough day for the real estate company that is renting the property.
They're just coming into the building. They were supposed to open up September 1st.
And elsewhere in Brevard County, officials are monitoring the storm closely.
At the Emergency Operations Center, we're at level 1 activation, which is basically an all hands on deck.
Don says the crews will be there working around the clock until the storm is gone. 13 shelters have opened. That includes a handful of pet-friendly shelters as well. We got a look inside the Viera Regional Community Center as county workers prepared the facility for evacuees and their pets, using tape to mark off individual spaces for folks using the facility to ride out the storm.
Now, we asked officials inside what was the capacity here at this shelter, and they told us as long as people continue to come, they will continue to make room. That's pretty good news. Here in Viera, I'm David Bowden, Fox 35 News.
And Dorian devastating the Bahamas earlier today. Homes obliterated as the monster Cat 5 storm roared over the islands. Wind gusts over 220 miles per hour, smashing cars, flipping trucks, and leaving entire neighborhoods in shambles. The storm is expected to linger over the Bahamas for the next 24 hours.
Coming up next here on the news station tonight, the chief is poring over that brand new forecast track that just came out. He's going to be back in just a few minutes.
And with Dorian taking aim at Central Florida, what does that mean for the I-4 construction project? We're looking into that ahead.
Fox 35 Weather Authority with Chief Meteorologist Glenn Richards.
All right, Dorian continues to be a definitely huge hurricane. Right now, the wind's currently blowing still around 180 miles per hour. Now, earlier today, we had winds up to 185, but Again, the big deal tonight is the fact that it has slowed down. And because it has slowed down, it basically means that the high pressure center to the north of this system has fallen apart. If the high pressure center was still intact right now, we would see this system very smooth on the north end. But instead, what we're finding is it's kind of flailing on the north end here, at least in the upper atmosphere. That's a great indication for us, an indication, again, that will continue to slow down. Some wind shear is beginning to hit it, and that's the first thing we need to see for it to turn. So again, hurricane warnings are up still for Brevard and Indian River County. Got a hurricane watch farther to the north. It still does include Volusia County. That will get upgraded to hurricane warning during the day tomorrow. So here's the new information again from the Hurricane Center. Winds are 180 miles per hour, moving west and northwest. It looks like the winds tomorrow 155 miles per hour. So it goes from 185, 180, then eventually 155 at about this time tomorrow. Then it will have made that turn to the north as we go through the latter part of the evening and during the overnight. Category 4 moving up along our coastline. Winds would be 140 at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Our strongest winds will be occurring basically as we go through the latter part of the afternoon and evening hours on Tuesday into the first half of the overnight. Still about 70 miles offshore. It looks like of now Volusia County, about 60 miles offshore, which is important, from the Cape. So again, just a little bit closer to the Cape. That will again be producing tropical storm force sustained winds along the East Coast with some hurricane force gusts expected again for the coastal communities. There it goes up to the north and then weakening somewhat as it races off to the north and east. But again, just a powerhouse storm even off the coast of the Carolinas. Winds sustained blowing at 100 miles per hour. Here's a little wider view of the radar showing the eye of the hurricane. It has a 10-mile wide eye. It has 2 eye walls, a double eye wall. Just reading up on that from the Hurricane Center. The recon plane found concentric eye walls. So again, just a powerhouse storm. It's that strong. It has not two eyes, but 2 eye walls. And again, rain showers being blown at us. We'll see more of those during the day tomorrow. So a high threat still of a surge. We're expecting about a 6 to 8 foot storm surge along our east coast from Volusia County on down to the south, a little bit less as you go farther up to the north. So again, from about Daytona Beach all the way down, about 6 to 8 feet expect as we go through basically late tomorrow through the entire day on Tuesday. Here's when the rain begins to move in. It looks like as we get into tomorrow afternoon, we'll already get some bands of showers being blown at us. They'll break up as we get into the overnight. And then as we get into Tuesday, first thing in the morning, here comes the center beginning to work its way more north. Again, that will produce more showers. Again, some bursts of heavy rain. Also some bursts even in Metro Orlando of wind gusts over 39 miles per hour. And then eventually, as we get into the latter part of the day on Tuesday, there's a center now due east of about Daytona. Again, some breaks in the clouds out to the west, but for the most part, still looking at sustained winds along the coast. That would be tropical storm force, and again, some gusts that would be hurricane force. If you live up in Gainesville, Ocala, out towards Chiefland, about 20 to 30 mile per hour winds sustained. Tuesday afternoon, there will be some gusts higher than that with some of the showers blowing on in. Metro Orlando, about 30 to 40 mile per hour winds that will be sustained. Again, gusts will be higher than that, getting up into that 45 zone. And then from Daytona Beach on down through Rockledge, Melbourne, Palm Bay, and Sebastian, about 40 to 50 mile per hour sustained winds, gusts up to hurricane force, which is enough, of course, to produce some damage and also some power outages. Real quick, want to show you the amount of rainfall. Heaviest rain, brand new forecast, stays way offshore. That's about 10 to 15 inches. For Metro Orlando, about 1 to 3 inches, but there will be some areas east of Orlando, of course, right along the coastline where we could be looking at upwards of about 4 to 6 inches of rain in total. So there will be some localized flooding and, of course, some power outages along the coastline based on the current forecast track. 7-day forecast, chance of rain building a little bit tomorrow afternoon, but it will be Tuesday into early Wednesday and then greatly and quickly improving weather by Wednesday evening.
Glenn, thank you. Next on the news station, in case you haven't noticed, we have a huge construction project going on along I-4.
And tonight, crews are scrambling to make sure Hurricane Dorian doesn't throw all this stuff around and cause major damage. We'll show you how they're preparing. Welcome back, everybody. Tonight, workers on the I-4 Ultimate project are also preparing as Hurricane Dorian inches closer to Florida.
The news station's Heather Gustafson has more.
So we really haven't seen a whole lot of drivers out here on I-4 tonight. Even for a holiday weekend, there really aren't any cars out here, but FDOT wants to make sure that any drivers who are on I-4 this week, that they're safe. So FDOT stopped any construction on the I-4 Ultimate, and they've also cleaned up as much equipment as they can, getting everything off the roads. A construction crane spinning 180 degrees in the air. Another one collapsing on top of a skyscraper. This is what Miami looked like during Hurricane Irma. Construction-filled Orlando is hoping to avoid that. As Dorian barrels towards Florida, FDOT removing orange barrels. These cranes will be lowered for safety when the storm gets a little closer, but for the meantime, all I-4 Ultimate work stopped Thursday, crews securing their equipment, but they're still telling drivers to be cautious. And it's not just these big pieces of equipment, it's also little stuff, little debris like this that the wind can pick up and throw around.
You know, they can't take everything away, but they do the best they can.
And did you see how high the Powerball got this week? Well, don't ask drivers on I-4. The lottery billboard is just one of dozens of billboards that has been removed ahead of Dorian.
It was really nice to see the billboards down and construction debris basically gone.
The highway, just like the city, hunkering down.
We're just going to stay inside and we hope everything will work out okay.
FDOT also working on flood prevention, removing debris from drains. This is a look back when some areas had a hard time with flooding, and that was just from normal Florida rain. As for the toll roads, a spokesman for the Central Florida Expressway Authority added that construction crews on the 417, 408, and 525 will all be securing items ahead of the storm. Governor DeSantis suspending toll fees on those roads as well.
You know, we are taking this storm and the potential impacts on Florida very seriously.
All lanes of I-4 will remain open in case anyone still wants to evacuate, but FDOT says if conditions get bad, don't drive. Reporting in Seminole County, Heather Gustafson, Fox 35 News.
Next on the news station, Glenn is back with a final check on Dorian's latest track.
Stay with us.